Hi, my name is Deborah Kevin, and I'm the Chief Inspiration Officer at Highlander Press. And this is my keynote speech about who wants to hear your story. But before we get into all about storytelling, let me tell you a little bit about me. I'm a reformed CPA and a corporate refugee, and my path to go from my four-year-old self who taught herself to read to today, where 5 years ago I published my first book with an author, was a very crooked one. I, along the way, went to Stanford University and learned how to craft novels. I'm a novelist. I attended Western Colorado University for publishing. I love books. But as a little kid, I didn't know that I could actually make my living working with the things that I loved most, which one of were books. And so I've pulled my passion together and all my experience with the finance world, the problem solving world, the project management world, and the book world into the beauty that is Highlander Press. But that's not all about me. I actually love my family. In addition to the books, I have two sons, one of whom is a musician and the second who is an artist. We love the outdoors, especially the Rocky Mountains, and we love to travel. And Highlander Press is very fortunate to have its own little hound. And to the right, you'll see a picture of Fergus, or as I like to nickname him, Fergimand Magellan, the traveler of the world. He is that official hound of Highlander Press. And when you are with me on Zoom or you see some of my live videos, you'll very often see and hear him in the background. One other thing you should know about me is that I love musicals. From the time I was a little girl going into Philadelphia to see musicals at the Forest Street Theater and Walnut Street theaters, I loved seeing all of the shows. And my current favorite is Hamilton. I'm completely obsessed with Hamilton. And the first time I saw the play, in the theater here in Baltimore, I was blown away by George Washington singing the song that had the lyrics that you have no control who lives, who dies, and who tells your story. And that gave me pause because it made me think about all the people I've met through all the years that I've been talking about writing and editing and telling our stories. People saying, someday I want to write a book. And that makes me pause for a moment because do we want to tell our own stories or do we want someone someday to write our story about us? And that brings me to the chief reasons and excuses that I hear for now's not the right time to write my book. And I'm just going to be very frank and say that for those people who tell me that they're going to write a book someday, I tell them that that makes them a waiter, not a writer. So let's explore these top excuses of why people don't write their books. The number one is I'm not a writer. Maybe I'm a business owner, or I'm just a mom, or I'm an executive. I'm not a writer. I don't know how to write. I'm going to give you a little truth bomb here, is that the only thing that makes a writer is the act of writing. And that's really great news because anybody can be a writer. How to be a good writer is to do it and practice your writing and get feedback and get support. So that's a myth buster that you don't come out of a womb with a typewriter or a keypad in your hand. It just takes desire and the willingness to practice. The next excuse is, well, I don't really know what to say. And I have to say, I'm going to wave the little yellow card on that one because we all have something to say, especially if you're in business or if you're a mom or an executive, a female executive. Somewhere along the line, you decided to be a leader in some capacity, and your big why can actually be the thing that encourages someone else to follow in your path, but blaze their own way just by you sharing your example in your book. It's all been said before. And you know what? That's probably a truth. But here's another truth is that no one in this world before today, or tomorrow will have had your lived experience, will have your perspective. And so even though someone else may have said the things that you will say, you're going to say them differently. You are going to have a different perspective, and it makes that unique. And so your story, your perspective is 100% worth sharing. I don't have time. Look, I get it. I hear you. I'm a mom. I'm a busy professional. I have my own business. I'm also right now, currently at this recording, a full-time student. I get the I don't have time syndrome, but I'm going to give you a little secret. I'm going to share with you my mantra, and it works beautifully, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed with all the things on my to-do list. So are you ready? You want to get a pencil for this one. I am a master of time, and time bends to my will. Give you permission to borrow that and use it because it changes everything. It's amazing when you're stuck in the car and you're going to be late to an appointment because there's an accident. You start repeating this mantra, it's almost like the seas part and you get to go straight shot wherever you're going. So next time you're feeling overwhelmed by your to-do list and you feel like you just don't have enough time, just remember my mantra. I am the master of time, and time bends to my will. That's my little gift to you today. I don't know how. I don't know how to write a book. I get it. I didn't know how to write a book either. But here's the thing. You don't have to know how to write a book to write that first draft. The first draft, as I like to call it, the SFD, which stands for shitty first draft, it's all about getting it on paper. Because if you get it down on paper, not perfect, not edited, not anything other than just on the paper, it can be edited and it can be shaped and it can be formatted and changed and grown and molded into being an incredible book. So you just have to get it down. Then you get an editor, you get a fabulous editor to actually shape it and work with you to make it a book. So you don't have to know how. So you can write that one right off of your list. The next is it's a lot of work. And it absolutely is a lot of work. And the truth bomb here is that it's just the beginning of your work. So here's a graphic that I have on my website, and it shows that the first part of the process is just writing the book. That's the first draft. Then you go through the editorial process. Then you go through the publishing process, which every one of these has so many sub-steps that you don't want to run through them. Only after you've pressed the publish button do you want to be launching your book. And then from launching is ongoing promotion that gets you that big splash, that gets eyeballs on your book, that creates curiosity and creates a tribe of people who love you and love your work. Here's the thing, even if you decide you want to self-publish your book, do yourself a favor and stay in each of these steps until it's complete. Too many times people go right from writing the first draft to pushing that publish button, and they do themselves and their readers and their bigger purpose and bigger message a great disservice. So I will agree with you that it is a lot of work. But here's the thing, it's so completely worth the reward. Now, I'm going to tell you every single one of these excuses that we just explored come down to one thing. They come down to your fears of failure, your fears of success, your fears of not having enough, your fears of thinking outside the box, your fear of being visible. Every single author who's ever written anything feels all of these things, at least one of them, and usually pretty much all of them. So you're in good company. So I'm going to give you permission. You have a great big permission slip today after watching this video to let your freak flag fly. Tell your story. Tell your truth. Share your perspectives. If you're writing a business book, a thought leader book, you're writing a memoir, you want to write a fiction, you want to write children's book, it doesn't matter. Be you and tell your story. Permission granted. And here's the thing is when you replace the fear with the potential, you just by making that first forward momentum and saying, I am going to write a book, I am a writer, you actually replace that fear with trust. And you start to see your potential for what your story can do for other people, how you can be seen in a leader. It does many other things too. So let's look at one of them. Let's look at some of the things you're going to gain by learning to trust yourself and seeing the potential in sharing your story in a book. Number one, you're going to increase your clarity. I've had so many authors say, I wasn't clear about what my story really was or what it even meant to me until I wrote it down. And that's part of the beauty of that clarity. But here's the other greatness is once you are clear on what your story means to you, you actually also become clear on what value it has for your reader. And that clarity is priceless. You also have increased confidence because you've gone through the hard parts. You've gone through writing that first draft without complete confidence. You've hired an editor. You've decided on your cover. You've done the launch process. You know who your competitors are. You actually follow through. You get through that mucky middle, like I call the molasses swamp of doubt and self-questioning. And you get to the other side. You're busting through that do not cross the tape, and your confidence goes through the roof. Suddenly, you're willing to speak about your book in front of people. You're willing to share your story. You're willing to be seen. And man, what does that do for your confidence? And by the way, that clarity and confidence, if you're in business, it skyrockets in your business too, which leads to increased opportunities. When you're clear and you're confident and you've got something to tell and share with people, you can share it on podcasts, you can share it on blogs and in presentations to networking groups, to conventions, to conferences, to podcasts. You can share your message in so many places that you can't even be aware of yet. One of my clients actually wrote a book, a memoir, a second generation Holocaust survivor story, and about how she took on all of this guilt in her family because she could never suffer as much as her father suffered living in a concentration camp and beyond. And so she stuffed down her experience. Through the course of writing her book, she got so clear about where she was holding herself back. And today, her book, she's speaking all over the place. And her book is not only in the United States Holocaust Museum and Memorial, it's in the Mauthausen Museum and Memorial Bookshop, and it's in the Holocaust Memorial Bookshop in Israel. She is making all kinds of waves by sharing a story that so many people can relate to, that it wasn't even clear to her when we started that that's where she was going. So when you share yourself through your book, whether it's an expert level book, it's a thought leader book, it's a memoir, it's a piece of fiction, it's a children's book, you actually build a know, like, and trust factor that your readers want to know more. They want to see you, they want to be a part of your sphere. And that transforms your entire life in ways that you can't even comprehend right now. Here's the truth: you have everything you need right now to start writing your book. Everything. All you need is to put a pen to paper or fingers on the keyboard, and start writing. You have it all within you. So please stop wishing and start writing, because tomorrow isn't promised and all we have is the present. Your ideal clients, your ideal readers, your ideal fans, they're waiting for you. And I have two resources to support you. My book, You've Written Your Book, Now What?, which is a self-publishing guide for entrepreneurs, but can be used for anyone who wants to self-publish, is available on my website. It's available at every book place you can imagine, both digitally and in print. And I hold a weekly write-in virtually on Zoom every Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. There's no registration, there's no obligation, there's no wrong way to do a write-in except for to not show up. And that information is on my website under resources. So you could join us every week and write for 2 hours. And maybe you can't come for all two, but you certainly can come for some of it. So just show up and come and write your book. And when you're ready, I will be here. I will be here with a virtual coffee chat to hear all about it and to hear about your dreams. You can book it on my website or on any of my social media platforms. I'll be waiting for you. And if you have any questions about anything I've shared in this presentation, I hope you'll reach out, because it would be my honor and my privilege to answer them. Thank you so much. Happy writing, because here at Highlander Press, we grow authors.